Today in Portland, Oregon, thousands of union members and their families got the shit tear gassed out of them as they marched in protest against ICE. And I want to share my experience as one of those protesters. Now, I'm not a union member, but my spouse is. So, and actually, like, either way, I would have come down because it was for union members and anybody who supports the labor movement. And we all have to be in solidarity with each other right now. It was a beautiful, unexpectedly sunny and dry day in Portland, and I think that contributed to the turnout being several times what the organizers had planned. We met at Elizabeth Carruthers Park, which is very close to the ICE facility on Macadam Avenue. While we had our event, there was a separate event going on in the park as well, and that is a weekly protest where an interfaith group, Quakers and others, get together and have basically like a silent prayer vigil, a silent vigil, and then they march silently to ICE and they lay flowers down for all of the victims who have been abused by ICE, abducted by ICE, deported by ICE, murdered by ICE. And so there were hundreds of them at their protest, and then there were thousands of us at ours. I think our diversity is one of the most beautiful things and most effective things about our resistance movement. We don't all have to be taking exactly the same actions. We don't have to all use exactly the same tactics. We're all swimming in the same direction, though. We're all invested in the same cause, and the way that we resist fascism looks slightly different. So I'm so grateful for all of those folks at the vigil with their march and the laying of flowers. So important. And I'm so, so grateful for our friends in the labor movement who are organizing with us. Actually, I was going to make a video on this when I got back from the protest, and maybe that'll happen a different day. I'm going to make this video and then I'm going to have a beer and some hot and sour soup and knit and like decompress because today was a lot. But we know, actually one of the speakers mentioned this, we know that when a country is facing authoritarian creep or democratic backsliding, as is the case in the United States, that if we do nothing, if nobody does anything, there's about a 7% chance of the would-be authoritarian failing. And that if the people rise up and 3.5% of the population is engaged in sustained, comprehensive, organized resistance, that there's about a 52% chance that we will stop democratic backsliding. But the minute you add the labor movement, the minute the unions get on board and organize against democratic backsliding, against a would-be authoritarian, the odds of us, the people, being successful in stopping this madness jumps from 52% to, depending on which source you look at, 72% or 83%. It depends on where you parse that data, but the minute you get the unions involved, the fascists are like, they're fucked. They're totally fucked. That's why I was involved in the May Day Strong protests last year. It's why I've continued to push for like, hey, we need the labor movement. We need unions on our side. And look at Minnesota. They are showing us exactly what we need to be doing. Their labor movement is like all in. They're all in. And that's what we need from unions around the country. And in Portland, they're also all in. So ONA, the Oregon Nurses Association, called for a protest today at Elizabeth Carruthers Park and marching to the ICE facility on Macadam. It was 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. Things don't usually get spicy down at the ICE building until after dark, although, you know, they've been escalating. So I knew we left our kids at home. I didn't bring my teenagers with me because I thought, there's a chance that this could get a little bit spicy. So we all showed up in the park, really good energy from everybody there, really inspirational speakers, every union, healthcare workers unions, teachers unions, SEIU, Teamsters, you name it, postal workers, you name it, they were all there. And then also just a bunch of folks who are not union were there in solidarity. I saw people from Indivisible. I saw folks that I know from all kinds of other contexts who are not part of unions, but they were there to join with our friends in the labor movement because we all have to band together right now. Portland Police was there. They made sure that the roads were blocked off. There were tons of volunteers who were medics, who were corkers, who were doing de-escalation and safety. And I'm so grateful for them because if you go down to the ICE facility, there are going to be right-wing streamers. There's going to be MAGA social media folks who are down there trying to get a rise out of you, right? There's going to be provocateurs. There's going to be counter-protesters. And they're hoping to grift off of that, right? They're trying to get people pissed off. So the organizers were like, hey, we're not going to interact with those guys. We're going to gray rock the shit out of them. They're not even there. And I saw counter protesters, MAGA influencers who were trying to get people to engage with them, and nobody would do it. Nobody was giving them anything. So mad props to the protesters. I saw such good nonviolent discipline from everybody down there. We were all doing exactly the right thing. And this was Again, lots of families were there. I saw a number of disabled folks who were there, some of them my friends in wheelchairs. I saw elderly folks with walkers and in wheelchairs, children of all ages, because this is about all of us, right? And I'm not sure that everybody understood what it's like down at ICE. So people weren't there with gas masks on. They weren't prepared for the air to get spicy. I honestly felt like it was maybe a 50-50 risk, and whatever, I'll risk it. We all lined up with our various unions and their banners, and then all of our other friends were farther toward the back. And we began marching, and it was just a huge, huge stream of people that just wrapped way around the block. Just, I don't have a total head count. I would say it was more than 3,000. That's probably really conservative. I'm terrible at estimating. So I have not seen any news that has covered this as of this point that I'm filming beyond KPTV, and they didn't give an estimate. They said, I think, many thousands. Now, here's where I want to talk from my position as a safety team person. We're marching and there's really good energy. I'm chatting with my husband's union members. I ran into a bunch of people that I knew. I'm having conversations. We're all screaming like, ICE out, right? Feels really good, totally nonviolent. Everybody's real self-controlled, right? I worried about getting down to the ICE building. As a safety team person, our Indivisible group is kind of known for our safety team and the way that we not only help staff other people's events, but also just the way that we are really, really safety oriented. I hate protesting down in the ICE facility. It is a bad scene from a safety perspective. I know people complain that protests are often held in other parts of Portland. The ICE facility is really, really small, and you come off Macadam Avenue and it's basically in this little hook where there's apartments across the street, like a spaghetti factory. It's a very small area, and it basically becomes like shooting fish in a barrel. You become sitting ducks. If you get more than 200 to 300 people down there, from my own personal opinion, as a safety volunteer, I think the situation can become quite dangerous. But we were all spread out, and we're marching from Elizabeth Carruthers Park. We're not cramming everybody in there, right? We're marching down. We're just marching through. Nobody's stopping. We're not becoming this kind of bottleneck where we're all convening on the ICE building. We're just marching around. Steady flow of people. So that should have been fine. Okay, forgive my bad overlay here. Cops had Macadam Avenue blocked off here. Here's the ICE building. Right? That famous blue line that they love to drag people across and then claim that they trespassed. We didn't march down here. We marched here and here, and then we went around the corner and back up. So we weren't actually directly in front of the ICE building at all. But again, it's a very small location. To the credit of the organizers, they did not direct anybody into this portion on Bancroft where you become a sitting duck. There's no good exit here at all, especially when police are blocking off Macadam. But even so, folks were congregating right here, and people were slowing down a little bit. In this J here, when we're turning the corner, it gets a little congested. I don't like it from a safety perspective. So my group was toward the front of the march, and we had turned that handle and we were coming back around up the other side, and we had to stop and let cars out. The Corkers had stopped us to let some cars through, and that created a little bit of a backup behind us. And again, because we were at the front, we didn't get that horrible wave of tear gas. Huge crowd, y'all, huge crowd, very spread out. We had circled back up and come back to the park without any incident. I could see ICE guys out. I could hear counter protesters and see them trying to get our attention, and we just, whatever. And there were lots of protesters who were down at ICE who are not part of the march. But I was like, wow, this is going really well, and I shouldn't have said that to myself. So we finished, and we came back, my husband and I came back to try and find our friends who were farther back in the march and maybe rejoin them and keep going. And we didn't get very far, and we just hit like a wall of tear gas, just an unbelievable amount of tear gas. Folks came streaming toward us with their eyes streaming. I saw an elderly gentleman in a wheelchair who was just like, he had to stop, and his eyes were just streaming and streaming. There were little children sobbing. There were little kids vomiting. I told my husband, I was like, oh shit, they just, and then you could taste it, right? And then it's in your eyes. And so we turned around and went back out. We had water with us. We were trying to offer water to people who got it really, really bad. And let me be incredibly clear here. Entirely nonviolent protest, union members, their families, the elderly, simply marching and chanting ICE out, ICE out. After you could hear the ka-thunk of the tear gas canisters, and there's just like that wall, people started chanting fuck ICE, fuck ICE. None of that is a reason to have chemical warfare used against American citizens. So ICE stood, there's like multiple roofs, right? They're on the lower roof and they're just, right? And people just kept marching. When I saw this happen, right, as I could see the cloud of gas rising up.
The opportunity to change the future and make one that is just, make one that is humane, and make one that includes your immigrant brothers and sisters. You right?
Yeah. I knew right away that what they wanted was to try and instigate panic, because you're in this situation where you're like a fucking fish in a barrel. You're all kind of crammed in there as you're turning the J and trying to come around the corner. They wanted people to panic. I cannot believe that there was anything other than they were trying to create panic. They were trying to incite a riot. They wanted people to freak out. They wanted people to freak out so that they could escalate. We know, everybody knows by now, right? Everybody knows by now that ICE, they don't have any intention of de-escalating. They don't need any excuse to be violent. They don't need any excuse to break the law, break your body, right? And so on some level, we shouldn't be surprised that they are perfectly happy to tear gas families in an entirely peaceful march, exercising our protected First Amendment rights. But that is exactly what happened today. I didn't see a single person panicking. I saw people crying. I saw people vomiting, but I saw people continuing to march in maintaining their nonviolent discipline and continue the march and not stop and not back everybody else up behind them. I saw people assisting other people. If anybody was stopped on the sides, they were being given aid by multiple friends, checking in with each other, right? That was my experience of watching the fallout of all of this, was that people were taking care of each other. People were not going to become violent. They weren't going to panic. They weren't going to riot. They were just going to make sure that they kept each other safe and they tended to each other's needs. This was entirely unprovoked. This was assault. This was chemical warfare against American citizens, against American families, all because they really want to riot. They really want an insurrection, and they're never fucking going to get it from Portland, Oregon. Do you hear me? You flarper fail sons, you're never going to get it from Portland, Oregon. These are guys who can only feel big and powerful when they're hurting people, when they're violating people's rights, when they're brutalizing people. They feel a tiny bit powerful because they're small and pathetic in the rest of their lives, right? They don't have any power anywhere else. The only place that they can fucking get it up, the only place that they can feel that they have any control, the only place that they can feel powerful at all is when they're hurting other people. How fucking pathetic can you be? And I know that they wanted to scare everybody. They wanted to be like, we can do whatever we want. We can tear gas little kids and you can't stop us. You should be scared of us. We're ICE. We're the fail sons of law enforcement. We're complete and total losers, but you should be afraid of us because we can tear gas the shit out of you. And unfortunately, that is something that backfired on them really, really badly and in ways that they can't even comprehend, right? So I made a video late last night and I posted it early this morning about the Otpor movement in Serbia. And they talked about how the regime there, Milosevic's regime, made them really afraid of being arrested. Being arrested was this like unknown quantity, unknown experience. It was something that you in your head could make feel far worse than it actually was, right? Your worst fantasy about it is far worse than the actual experience. And so once people started getting arrested, it demystified it, took the power away from the regime. People were like, oh yeah, I'll get arrested. Sure, okay. What happened today in Portland was exactly the same thing. Thousands of regular, ordinary people who've never been tear gassed in their lives, they all got tear gassed for the first time. And they found out that like, oh, this is okay. I can deal with this. This really fucking sucks. It just cements for me what kind of craven, hateful people, cruel men are working for ICE and how determined we all are now to make sure that we bring an end to this regime and see all of those motherfuckers prosecuted. Which, by the way, if you got tear gas today or you documented the tear gassing of innocent civilians, please contact the National Lawyers Guild. Their information is right here. I'll cut and paste it right here. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, I'll put it in the video description as well. Contact them. We've got to document everything that's happening. They broke the law today. They violated your rights today. And it's really, really important that we document that for the time to come. So yeah, take that step. Even if you don't think like, oh, just me, I'm just a regular person. And you know, I was doing this march and I got tear gassed and it happens. No, it should not have happened to you. In a country where our First Amendment rights are defended, that should not have happened to you. So it's really important. Please reach out and document. Now there's like thousands of people who've been tear gassed for the first time who are like, oh yeah, Okay, I can do that. Actually, you know what? I'm a fucking badass. I got tear gassed and I was fucking fine. I finished that march and I was fine. I'm gonna tell all my friends how I got tear gassed by Donald Trump's lawless goons, and I was fine. And you know what? It's not gonna deter me from protesting. In fact, you know what? I might be more inclined to go to a protest. I'm gonna go buy a gas mask. I'm gonna go buy goggles. I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. I'm ready to protest more. Right? The violence and brutality of the regime backfires. It backfires on them because it shows people that, like, oh, this wasn't as bad as I thought. Or even if it is bad, now I know what it's like and I can prepare and I can go ahead and be more courageous because I understand better. I have knowledge, and knowledge diffuses fear. In the Oprah movement in Serbia, when folks got arrested, they made those people into celebrities so that instead of getting arrested being shameful, it was like, oh my God, you were willing to get arrested for the movement? Damn, that's hot. That's wow. Okay. And here we see the same thing where, okay, you know what? Look at what a badass I am. I got tear gassed today. I survived. I got tear gassed on behalf of democracy, in the defense of my neighbors, in the defense of immigrants, and I am a fucking badass. You customs agent losers, you just made a couple of thousand absolute rock stars today who now are more confident in their abilities. They know that they can survive getting tear gassed, and they're like, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next thing. Level me up. The regime thought that it would scare people, that it would chill dissent. They thought that it would be a deterrence. And instead, they are experiencing the backlash. As I was standing there, like trying to pass water to somebody, I heard these people who were walking past me who said, now I want to go protest at ICE every day. Now, oh, is this what getting tear gassed is like? Okay, I want to come down here and protest more often. All you losers did was galvanize and activate people. The oppression, the repression of authoritarian regimes can create a backlash where it causes more people to join the movement, more people to rise up, more people to take action. I guarantee you that's exactly what happened in Portland today. Thank you to all of the folks who reached out to us. My husband's lungs are not great because he's recovering from pneumonia, so he's having a little bit of a hard time this evening. We're totally fine. We are totally fine other than that. Again, we were at the leading edge and we came back to meet our friends, and like we did not get in the thick of it. But I have lots of friends who got tear gassed quite badly. None of them are quitting. They're all like, when's the next protest? I don't want to wait until No Kings on March 28th. Give me something before then. Give me something every fucking week. Let's go. Let's start organizing for big labor strikes. I'm ready to do the next thing. I'm all in. All that happened today was that the Trump regime looked weak. They looked really, really fucking weak. They looked desperate to try to create a riot that they were never going to get from us, And all they did was activate thousands of people and increase people's resolve and cause them to be willing to give more. They helped an awful lot of folks today reassess how much risk they are willing to undertake. Maybe before today, they weren't willing to get tear gassed. Now that it happened to them without them like intentionally stepping into that, they're like, oh, okay, I'm willing to do this again. I'm willing to do more than this now. Please understand, immigration and customs enforcement agents, from the safety of their little rooftop position, fired chemical agents, conducted chemical warfare against American citizens in Portland, Oregon today. Thousands of us, children, the elderly, disabled folks, regular union families. They did that. It was cruel. It was illegal. It was terrible. It didn't fucking deter a single one of us. It didn't have any of the desired impact that they were hoping for. Thank you to everybody who came out today and took a risk on behalf of democracy, who stood up for your immigrant neighbors, who stood up against the tyranny of Donald Trump's regime. Your sacrifice today, thank you for that. Your commitment to the cause, so necessary. I don't know about y'all, but I'm more hopeful than I have ever been. Every time I turn out to any event, every meeting that I go to, I meet new people. I see people stepping into this work for the first time. I see people being willing to take on bigger risks. I see the organizing. I see the scaffolds being built that we are going to need for the heavy lifting ahead. Y'all, we are moving in the right direction. The resistance is growing at such a rapid pace. I am not in any way freaked out by what happened today. I came out of today with my eyes burning, but like my heart full.